Hello, and a very warm welcome to my little cottage garden in Cambridgeshire in the UK. I'm still enjoying the sights and sounds of summer. The early sunrises and the long warm evenings are perfect for strolling round the garden, looking for those subtle signs that tell us that we're coming towards the end of summer. The rosemary bush surprised me with a second flush of flowers, which is really nice for the bees. I finally have caterpillars, which I'm pleased about. It's nice to be able to provide habitat for the butterflies to reproduce. My cherry tomatoes are still going strong. At this point, I'm kind of getting eager for them to finish. Not because I'm tired of the tomatoes, but I am getting tired of all the watering. And also because the tomato corner is turning into a sorry looking mess, with all the tomatoes flopping over. Perhaps a couple more weeks before they finish and I can repurpose this space for something else. I also have cucumbers growing in this corner. I planted these rather late, and I don't know if they're going to have enough time to produce fruit before the weather turns cool. But at least the flowers are pretty. The beans are showing no sign of stopping. They seem to be thriving in the hot, dry weather. We've just come through our third, or is it our fourth heat wave this summer? My red acer looks like it's finally succumbing to the heat. This is the green acer that got sunburned during the last heat wave. I moved it into the shade and it seems to be doing okay. I might have to move the red one here as well. As we move towards the end of the summer, it's time to start harvesting seeds. This is the dry seed head of a chive. Chives are such a great herb. In addition to their culinary use, the flowers are beautiful and they're popular with the pollinators. I can plant these in spring next year and get more chives. And these are the dry seed heads from my ornamental alliums. I love how they catch the light. Inside each of the spikes are these tiny seeds. Alliums can take 2 to 3 years to flower when they're grown from seed, and I'm not that patient, so I will definitely be buying some allium bulbs. But I'd have nothing to lose by planting these as well. I made a bit of an impulse decision this weekend to revise this border in my garden. It's immediately to my right when I come into the garden through the back gate, and it's also the first thing I see when I open my back door. I've been a bit unhappy with the border for a while and I was planning to update it in the autumn. But I think I've grown a bit restless from not doing any actual gardening through the summer. So I figured, you know what? I'll just do it now. It might be a bit stressful for the plants that I move, but if I give them enough water, they should be fine. One side of the border is dominated by this rose bush, which I want to keep, but I plan to cut it back significantly. There's a lot of lily of the valley beneath it, which is almost impossible to get rid of, but I'll try to take out as many of its roots as I can. And the other thing, which is a bit of a challenge in this border, is this chocolate mint. I really like this plant. It smells just like after 8 chocolates, and it makes delicious cocktails. Its flowers are also really pretty and the insects love them. But like all mint, it has a tendency to get out of hand. There are other things in the border that I want to keep, like this sage, which I use to cook, and this oregano. There are also some heucheras, some alchemilla mollis, and this blue festuca grass, which I plan to replace with a different grass. There's some gaura whirling butterflies, which I also want to keep, and a couple of hardy geraniums. On the other side, looking towards the house from the garden, there's this buddleia, which I'll remove in the autumn, but I want to leave it for the moment because the butterflies like it. And there's also a white hydrangea, it's gone over now, and some catmint, which I planted this spring, which is gradually getting established even though it hasn't flowered. There's some crocosmia, or mombretia as it's sometimes called. I know this has a tendency to spread and take over, but I like the way the bright orange sets off the centers of the echinacea, so I'm keeping it. Some more gaura on this side as well. And I think there's some veronica in here somewhere and a couple of young roses. These echinacea were growing in the ground last year, but in springtime, the slugs kept eating the new shoots, so I dug them up and put them in pots. And I'd like them to go back into the ground now so that they can get established, ready for next spring. So there are lots of good plants in the border, but it just lacks cohesion. And right in the middle is a large Spirae. I think it's called Spirae. It's overgrown this spot, so I'm going to be digging it up. I have some other plants I'll be adding to the border, such as these asters for late summer and autumn color. I'm going to add some hart's tongue fern, which is evergreen and will add winter structure and interest. I want to add some more heucheras for foliage contrast. And this tiarella, which has overgrown its pot and needs to go in the ground. I've also got some salvias or flowering sage, which I want to include because they have that upright habit in their flowers and also for the silver contrast of their leaves. And some brown carex grass to replace the blue festuca. So I made a rough planting plan just to give me a sense where things will go and how they fit together. And then I got to work in the garden. First, I removed the Spirae. I had to cut off all the branches with loppers and then dig out the roots. And underneath it is this euonymus, which it had completely covered up. I had almost forgotten that it was there. This was a well-established shrub, and the stump was really deeply rooted. It took me quite a bit of elbow grease to dig it out. Doing this, I can see now why established shrubs tend to be relatively drought resistant, because their roots go really deep and they're able to find water quite deep inside the soil. Next, I pulled up most of the mint. This is why people say you should never plant mint in the ground. It puts out these runners which sprout new shoots at intervals, and so it can quickly take over a space. But I find them relatively easy to pull up. I pruned back the rows and left just a couple of the main stems. And I also cut back the geraniums. I will lose the flowers, which is a shame, but if I'm lucky, they might still put out new flowers before the season ends. I dug up the blue festuca and moved both plants to a new location. And unfortunately, at this point, I had to stop filming because my phone ran out of battery, and I didn't want to stop what I was doing and wait for it to charge. So I plugged in the phone and I carried on. And after a couple of hours of weeding and pruning and planting and mulching, this is what I ended up with. I think it looks a lot better than it did before. It's probably too densely planted, but many of these plants will die back in a few months, and when they start to come back in spring, I can do some more editing. I even managed to keep some of the mint. And I planted up some of it in a pot to put by the back door as well. I think I'm happy with how it looks. I'll be doing a lot of watering in the next few weeks to help the plants I moved settle in. But hopefully as we move into autumn and it starts to rain, I'll have to do less watering, and the roots will have a lot of time to get established before next spring. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click on the like button. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about the updated border, so please drop a comment to let me know what you think. Bye for now, and I hope to see you again next week.